Hi everyone, I am Robert, the writer, the artist, and the publisher from Afterburner Comics. You can find me online at Afterburner Comics on Instagram and my website, afterburnercomics.com. Today I'm going to discuss my thoughts and my views on the movie The Odyssey. This is the adaptation by Christopher Nolan of Homer's epic poem, The Odyssey. And if you ever saw the movie Troy from quite a few years ago with Brad Pitt, this movie is basically covering the events that happened after the fall of Troy, using the great deception of the Trojan horse. It follows the journey of a warrior king named Odysseus and his crew from Troy back to Odysseus' home in Ithaca. Another part of the movie also covers what's happening on the home front while Odysseus is gone. His wife Penelope is delaying quite a number of suitors who want to marry her in the absence of Odysseus and take over his throne. That is the basic premise of the story. But for me, the real telling concept of the story is the relationship that the humans have with their gods, or with their belief system that they have constructed around their association with the gods. Primarily is the law of Zeus, which gives the obligation of a homeowner to give safe harbor, provide food, and even money to beggars or travelers that come to their home. On the one hand, that is a good thing because it encourages people to treat the poor and the disadvantaged in a very favorable way. But there is also the aspect that the reason that they are to treat these travelers in such a gracious way is because they never know if one of the gods has taken a human form and come to visit them in their home, and so they're being gracious because you never know. It's that whole thing of you never know who you're talking to every day, or who you're associating with every day. So it's good on the one hand that they're being nice to each other, but they're also being nice to each other because of their fear of repercussions. This carries on throughout the movie, and as Odysseus and his crew are heading back home, they have to stop at all of these different islands to replenish their thought process, the crew's thought process, as they go to these islands to replenish whether it's food or water, or whatever provisions they need, is that whoever's on that island is going to follow the law of Zeus and help them out, and provide sustenance for them. If these individuals don't follow the law of Zeus, then these are trained soldiers and trained warriors, so they're going to take what they want. All of these things play into, again, how the characters make their decisions, how actions are decided, domino effect of how these actions, this belief system affects society as a whole. One of the underlying threats throughout the movie is this threat of the sea people. These sea people that are attacking along coastlines of these different cities, and they've been doing it for years, but no one knows where the sea people come from. Well, essentially the sea people are Odysseus and his crew as they're going from port to port, either getting their provisions by generosity or by force. But because there was no internet, they couldn't just Google things back then, and no live action news or anything. So all the people that were far away were hearing of these stories of these great raiding parties coming through. But again, that is a domino effect of that belief system of Zeus's law of granting hospitality to travelers and to beggars. That plays out back in Ithaca at Odysseus's home. Again, Odysseus is a warrior king, so when he left home, he didn't just leave his home, he left his throne, and his wife and his son there. And once Odysseus was gone, then that left a power vacuum, and all of these guys start showing up at the home. Penelope, the wife, she can't really just turn them away because Zeus's law says that she has to provide for these people that are in her home, and they take advantage of that. Another thing that stands out to me with this movie is along the same line of thought. Odysseus has these visions throughout the movie where he's talking to a goddess, Athena, and we never really know whether he's actually talking to Athena, the goddess, whether he's imagining this person, or if it's a ghost. Because back in Troy, there was an incident where Odysseus and his men approached a statue dedicated to the goddess Athena, and they sacrificed a young woman at that statue. The image of the goddess that Odysseus is speaking to throughout the movie is the likeness of that young woman. So we're never really sure if he's imagining this or if he's actually talking to a god. The end result is that it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether he's actually talking to a goddess, whether it is his imagination, or whether it's a ghost. The end result is that the source of his vision doesn't really matter. The end result is that it still affects his actions, it affects his decisions. And throughout the movie, throughout each island that he and his crew stop at in order to get provisions, that's usually why they're stopping, to get provisions, to keep going to the next stop. Whether it's when they stop at the island of the Cyclops, they get trapped in a cave, they have to battle the Cyclops, and when the Cyclops becomes injured, he calls out to his father, Poseidon. So whether it's Athena, whether it's Zeus, whether it is Poseidon, whether it is Circe, who has been empowered by the gods, or Apollo, in each instance, this crew, this society, are making decisions, are making earth-changing, or for them, within the scope of their world, they're making earth-changing and social-changing decisions based upon a belief system. At one point in the movie, Odysseus is talking to Athena, the goddess, and he says, I don't understand the meaning of the gods. Why can't the gods speak clearer? And Athena says, what can be clearer than thunder? What is more clear than hunger? What is more clear than love or anger? Or the clouds moving? What's more clear than that? And she really, in that statement, she really lays it out, the fundamental elements that unite humans in their understanding. It's not language. Well, of course, it's language, being able to communicate, but it's the basic understanding that we all have of whether hunger. Everyone feels hunger at some time. We all get tired. For the most part, we all feel anger to some degree or love to some degree. From a storytelling aspect, because I'm a storyteller, I draw comics and I create graphic novels. Those are things that I key upon when crafting a story. For you storytellers out there, and for you folks that are interested in, the whole lore of storytelling, that is something to keep in mind. Those fundamental elements really bring a story to really help to present a story to a wide range of audiences. And circling back to the Odyssey, that underlying current of whether the gods were being manifest through these elemental things of the world, whether or not that was true, that doesn't matter. What matters is that the people believed it to be true, and so they made decisions in their lives based upon that belief. There was one point where Odysseus, for the most part of the movie, he didn't have any knowledge of the future or anything like that. But there was a point where he visited an island, and he went to Hades, and the dead, his fallen soldiers, came to life, and they told him, they gave him a prophecy of some things that were going to happen in the future. So he knew some of the things that were going to happen in the future, and he tried to tell his men, the remaining men, he tried to tell them, hey, look, we're going to go to this island of Apollo, and he's got these cattle that he really likes. Don't eat the cattle. Bad things will, nothing good will come of it. Scope and the scale, it is truly an epic movie, and I do recommend it. The things that I touched upon, or that really resonated with me, were, I guess, beyond just the technical aspects of the movie. As I say, it was more along that belief system that society had constructed for itself, and how in some ways it confined them and restrained them, but at the same time it gave them freedom. So that's my take on it. I'd be happy to hear what you folks thought about it.